atoms. And these carbon atoms started forming billions and billions of years ago deep below the Earth's surface. And with intense heat and pressure, these carbon atoms, with the help of Mother Nature of course, eroded up, and with the help of volcanic eruptions, we found the first one right over here, 2500 BC in India. But back then, the locals had no idea what these shiny stones were, so they actually believed them to be tears of God that fell from the stars. So they drank them for medicinal purposes. Which was going to work out that well for them, of course, so instead of drinking them in 2500 BC, we decided to put them in the very shiny gold we found in the mountains in 320 BC. So back then, gold mold heated up a little bit, very soft substance at 24 carats, and then the diamond rough, the hardest substance under the sun. All they did is they popped the rough into the mold and they hoped for the best. That's also how we lost a lot of diamonds eventually, but that's also how diamonds share their stories, in my opinion. So moving on to 1330, when we finally discovered that one diamond can cut another diamond. And how that happened was all by accident, of course, and the merchants used to walk around little pouches full of rough stones, almost like these ones in their pockets. In the night, they would count out all the little rough stones and like, look, it's so dusty in my pouch, and nobody could understand why it was so dusty in their pouch. Until they finally realized that these stones were rubbing against each other, cutting each other, creating the diamond dust. So now we know a diamond cuts another diamond. And we still use that basic principle still today. Moving to 1477, where Mr. Archduke Maximilian went down on his one knee for the first time, and he presented the first ever engagement ring to his fiancée, Miss Lady of Burgundy. Now she received a yellow band, just like that one, with a rough, just like that stuff on top. And as the romantics also go, he had been engraved for her, and it said, "My love for you would run out at the loop's end." Big cool moment, of course, in history. Moving on to 1550, the 1600s, where the first ever written record of diamond cutting was noted in Belgium, Antwerp. So one of the biggest diamond capitals we know even today. There's a small theory that goes around that they handle 99% of all the world's diamonds, but we know that's not true because Aussie Shemansky actually has a special license that allows them to go straight to the mine, tenderite, they come straight back here. So there's no in between or middleman, we know exactly where it's coming from and where it's going. That also aids in the ethical mining of our diamonds from conflict-free mining, which is very, very important. Now, in 1867, this is what the South African story starts with this young gentleman right over here, Mr. Erasmus Stefanus Jacobs. But before we get to him, I'm going to show you the center cases right over here. So, when we mine gold, we mine them in veins in the mountain. The same applies to diamonds, but diamonds we mine in kimberlite pipes. And inside this kimberlite pipe, you will find this, the kimberlite rock. So when you find your kimberlite pipe and your rock and you see your presence of diamonds, hopefully you can find a big enough rough stone for us to extract, cut and polish, and also be gem quality. It can also be too small to extract, but even industrial quality that we can't actually set in jewelry like you would in gem quality diamonds. Now, these are called the kimberlite rocks, and this is exactly the rocks that Mr. Erasmus was playing with on his father's farm in 1867. He was playing this game we call clippies here. When you take the rock and you skip it on the water and see how far it goes, and he found a very nice big shiny one. Took it back home to his mother, told his mother the entire story, so the mother called the neighbor over. The neighbor came over, told him the whole story. Then this neighbor said, "Listen, young man, I think that might be a diamond. May I take it? I promise I'll bring it back in a week's time." He took the diamond, he brought the diamond back. It was 21.15 carats in its rough form, a yellow cognac diamond, and was dubbed the Eureka diamond because Eureka, we found diamonds in South Africa. Wow. And you can still see it today in the Kimberley Museum, but it's now cut and polished, I think in the emerald cut, and a total of 10 carats in the museum. Now, after the time up until today, it was 3,106 carats in its rough form, and this big rough was then cut up in 9 large pieces, all lined with the British royal family still today, and the 95 smaller ones that was given as payment to the diamond cutter in the 1900s. So that's a good deal eventually. So after the first one in 1867, the 1905, the largest one, we go to 1919, where Mr. Marcel Tolkowski, he was a mathematician, discovered when light enters the table facet or the top part of the diamond, it uses the facets almost like mirrors, reflecting light, giving us the intense brilliance and sparkle that we are wanting at the end of the day. So when you cut a diamond too shallow or too deep, light can literally leak out the sides. You want a more grey, lackluster diamond we don't want. So that is why symmetry and proportion is so important in diamond cutting, and to enable those mirrors to reflect light and then intense sparkle. Moving on to 1939, this is where the 4 C's was established for diamond grading by the GIA, the Geological Institute of America, and they go cut, color, clarity, and carat weight. There's also a 5th one I'll let you know about in a minute. So in terms of cut, symmetry and proportion, very, very important. It has to be excellent all the time in order for us to claim that we have those parts exactly the way that we have to. Aside from a round cut, so this will be your RBC, symmetry and proportion, very, very important. But when it comes to the shape of your diamond, if it's a hard shape, a round one, a square one, you'll have to wear it the same day, so as long as you are happy, nothing else really matters. Until you get to color and clarity, it will affect your investment purpose of your diamond as well as the price tag. Depending on which color or clarity you are preferring in your diamond, we can always adjust the pricing and the investment purposes going forward on you. And then lastly, carat weight. They still say bigger is better in the diamond industry, and it's unfortunately still true, as it has 60% influence on the price of your diamond.
De Beers.
De Beers did say that, yes. Now, and the fifth C will be the confidence, and again, confidence is just to say that we ethically mine our diamonds from conflict-free mines, and we do not use any revenue for any sort of war crimes or anything, which is very, very important. That also takes away the term blood diamonds that we do not handle or actually create here. Now, moving on to the origins of diamond mining. This is just the actual location of where everything started. I'm sure you heard of Kimberley before, the big hole of Kimberley. Now Kimberley, the kimberlite pipe, the kimberlite rock, and the Kimberley process all stems from Kimberley right over here. So Mr. Erasmus found that diamond. In 1870, right up there, became 1872, basically overnight. Just comparable to the Canadian-American gold rush, the same happened here with diamonds, just I would say times 10. Because in the 1900s, we supplied 95% of the entire world's gem party diamonds. So we had the best, the biggest, the brightest, and we still do have that today. Now, after everybody came rushing to the farm, the De Beer brothers got a little bit scared, so they decided to sell their farm and go back to the Netherlands. So they sold their farm for £6,000 to private investors. And the private investors resold for £5.3 million. Wow. It was the biggest check written in the 1800s. Unfortunately, you win some, you lose some in this case, I always say. Now, this is an day when you fly over Kimberley, you can actually just see the reflection of a big mirror in the center of the town, because we can't mine them that it was filled with water today. Just mind your details again. Now, after the private investors resold, they resold to Mr. Barney Bonato and Mr. John Rhodes. Mr. Bonato was an Italian gentleman and Mr. Rhodes came from Rhodesia in Zimbabwe today. And together these two gentlemen started the De Beers mining consolidation. It was never the De Beer brothers themselves, it was just these two gentlemen using their name. So after they started the consolidation of the De Beers mine group, they created this, the plan of ownership for the Kimberley mine. Now, I'm sure you can see all these little blocks on the map. So, back then, after Mr. Bonato and Mr. John Rose forked out $5.3 million to pay for this mine, they decided to rent out a 2x2 square, just like this block, to anybody who had £20 for rent that year. As soon as you give me your £20, I give you a wooden stake, and just to keep things fair, because everything you mined in this block that year, you could keep. If you found nothing, it was not their fault, there was no favoritism. To ensure that, as soon as you give the £20, we give you the stick, everybody lines up in a long, long line. One gentleman would shoot a gun, and all of these men would run to the farm. Wherever you place your stake, that's your 2x2 for the year, just to keep things fair. Wow. Now, right over here, there's actually a picture of these men running towards that farm to go place their
Kimberley diamond.
Yes, exactly. Now, when I mentioned the 2x2 square, I can actually physically show you how it was created. A lot of people don't believe me when I tell them that. So here you can actually see the little blocks that was left over. This was not a very famous 2x2. This one did very well, and out they go deeper and deeper. And eventually, everything started to go down in one big layer. So I think they eventually had to stop the 2x2 process because it just couldn't work for that long, I'm assuming. And just to show you what it came out, a 2x2 square meter of the Kimberley mine. And at the end of the day, about in 1914, the mine was split in two as two major corporations started the mining process, everything at one time. So, naturally, after Mr. Bonato and Mr. Rhodes made some money with their new mining purchase, Mr. Bonato decided he's had enough. Nobody knows what happened to him. You can all make your own conclusions. But moral of the story is he got onto the boat without any money in hand.
Who?
Mr. Bonato. So, yes, so it's either said that he was taken care of before he got onto the boat, he was helped up halfway, or when he got there, something happened to him. but it was open to an ideal rough for us to find out in nature, because as soon as we start the cutting process, the first step will be split it right in half, giving it those two sections. Then you start the rounding off, entering the facets and the brilliance of it. And the reason why this is so perfect for us is with this rough, you sacrifice less carrot wood when the cutting process starts. With other roughs, they look a little bit more. So that is the microscope. But there is a very high class cut in the artist. It's called the 8 of Hearts. It's very well known right around the world. 8 of Hearts, hearts and arrows, everybody has their own version of what they call it. What that basically means, when you look through a loop, from the top you'll see 8 perfect arrows, perfect symmetry and proportion, and from the bottom 8 perfect hearts, symmetry and proportion. And then a step above the rest is the brilliant 10, so instead of 8 hearts and arrows, you'll see 10 of each. That is a bead base of bead base, which is going to be brilliant to the world. And then finally, in 1988, so 100 years later, De Beers unveiled this stone for the first time, for their 100th birthday. And it still lies in London in De Beers headquarters. You can still go see it there today.
This is not original.
No, it's not, unfortunately. No, if it was, we charge you much more to come in here. And next to it, the Millennium Star. This is considered to be the most beautifully and the most perfectly cut diamond in the world, because it is both internally and externally flawless in the D color. So best grade, best color, best of everything. And it's also considered the lucky number because they found it at a rough of 777 and not 666. So of course it was very, very lucky. And it now today lies in London. It was bought by an undisclosed buyer at an undisclosed amount. So we don't know anything else besides that. Next to it, the Taylor Burton diamond. Mrs. Elizabeth Taylor, she was an actress from America. Now she married Mr. Burton twice. The second time around, this was her engagement ring.
Wow.
Oh,
Yes.
Richard Burton gave it.
Yep. And her first engagement ring was this huge emerald brooch, this huge square like that, but this was the second time around. Until finally one day she met with the royal family, with Princess Margaret and Queen Elizabeth. And then Princess Margaret told her that's very vulgar for a lady. And then she cut the diamond. It was the first ever televised diamond cutting done in the world. And she was left with 2 pear shapes just like these ones. And eventually they were also sold on private auction. The smallest one was sold to a gentleman from the UK as well, and he was actually in our showroom last year, December. And I had to ask, like, how was the process? And he told me he paid £1 million for the baby one for his wife, and she was very, very happy for it, of course. Now, the second one also lies with a private collector that bought the Millennium Stone, undisclosed name, amount, anything. We just know where it is. And here we come to the De Beers yellow and the Hope diamond. Now, when it comes to the color that you see in front of you, we do not heat it, we do not do anything funny to give it this color. This happens naturally. But as the stone formed billions of years ago, with the yellow diamond there was nitrogen present in the ground when it formed. All of the nitrogen leaked into the carbon, giving us a beautiful yellow hue. That also makes them much more intense and more valuable. The same with the blue diamond. So blue diamond is the rarest diamond you can find out there. And the chemical that gives it its blue color is called boron. And that was the stone forming and eventually popping up off the earth. Now the Hope diamond is the most expensive diamond in the world. It's going to $250 million. And today you can go into the Smithsonian Museum in DC, go look at it and walk straight back out, and apparently there's only one security guard. So I have heard. Now, it's considered also the bad luck diamond, as everybody who owns this diamond has bad luck follow them, but I'm sure that's just part of the allure of the story. Now, moving on, Premier Rose, the Jubilee. So the Jubilee is actually one of my favorites to talk about. This is one of the top 6 biggest diamonds in the world, and the D colors, the best color out there. We also gave this diamond to Queen Victoria in 1895, and it's still raised with King Charles III today.
Where is Kohinoor?
Pardon?
Kohinoor.
Kohinoor to London.
Oh, yes. I believe they also have that one in London. You're on the Tower of London, along with our Star of Africa one in June. Our 2 biggest ones, I think our biggest Star of Africa was 531 carats, and the second one was 520. Are very, very close together. The biggest one is in his coronation scepter, and the second one is in his coronation crown. Now, our last window, this is the My Gold Diamond. This is Africa's first ever copyrighted and patented cut. You can only find right here in South Africa, in Cape Town, at Szymanski, nowhere else. Because it was Mr. Szymanski who created this stone, and he did the copyright, did everything for this, and it took him 3 years of research to perfect this cut. Now, if you come a little bit closer, you can actually see they found this one also by accident, of course. So the mine inspector was doing his rounds, just taking security purposes. When he found it sitting in the roof of the mine, he took it out, went to the analysis department, said, I found this, analyzed, I'm going to go on with my day. Came back 2 days later thinking, okay, the result, Apparently, he was quite a prankster back then, so they thought he was pranking them, so they threw the diamond away. Until he came to ask about the results, they had to go out, look for it, mid-panic attack. They found it, analyzed it, biggest diamond ever found. I always end off with never judge a book by its cover. If there was ever a lesson. Stamping and 3D printing right here on site. So when I mentioned that Szymanski has that special license, everything he tenders for comes straight back here. Everything you see on the sales floor was made right here. This is not just for show. All of our people actually work here, but it's weekend, so they're on a bit of a weekend now. So you can move on with me. So before we cast our metal, we first make a 3D wax and silicone print out of all of our designs. Then they take these physical plastic designs, just like these ones, that yellow and that purple. They physically then put the diamonds into this plastic mold to check for symmetry and proportion. Very important, because as soon as we cast our metal, we won't recast again. It's virgin metal, so from the mine to your finger. And the reason why we won't recast again is the integrity and the purity of the metal is very, very important. Because the more and more you recast, the weaker it becomes, and that's how we snap, and that's how we lose diamonds. So we don't want that. This is also why we won't work on other jewelers' pieces, nor do we want jewelers to work on our pieces, because we know exactly what we put into it and where it's going, and we can't say the same for them. Now, to your right hand side, you will see this stunning Ralph Lauren dress, and this came from the Charlize Theron. She's an actress from America. Now, she won an Oscar in 2004 for the movie Monster. She's South African, Johannesburg Benoni, and then after she won her Oscar, she was wearing a 47 carat emerald cup, the night that she won, and back then was 20 million rand, and she said 2 bodyguards had to follow her around. Obviously made her so nervous, and she was going to take it all to the end of the day. So as a thank you, she gave us her dress to put into the museum and tell the story so everybody can share the history as well. You can step through with me. Come this side first, and after that, they go to that to be second part, be second to the jewelry. So you will see Maloko is holding that contraption in his hand. That is called a tan. Now he takes the rough stone, he puts it into the top of the tan right over here. You'll see each tan looks a little bit different. That is because each one is set to a different angle and degree for diamond cutting. Maloko then proceeds to place his rough down onto that round looking thing. It's called a scarf. Now the scarf is a steel plate. Thank you, Maloko. There we go. He's busy cutting a 7 carat pink yellow diamond as well. Thank you, Maloko. Now, Maloko uses the scythe, which is a steel plate that runs 3,000 revolutions per minute. And with this scythe, they coat the scythe with olive oil and diamond dust. Olive oil is a very high burning temperature. Diamond dust, only a diamond can cut a diamond. We then create a paste, place it onto the scythe, and literally what he's doing, he's putting the facets in right now. He's creating the facets with the diamond dust. You can barely see it on this scythe. That's how thin it is. There we go. Now, it's very important to note how Maloko keeps on picking up and putting back down, picking up and putting back down. He needs to inspect every 15 seconds to get each facet. Now, bear in mind, each RBC has 57 facets. Now, he has to inspect every single one, every single day, because just like that picture, all the angles and degrees, each facet has to be exactly pinpoint perfectly that. Otherwise, you won't have the perfect symmetry proportion, the mirrors won't reflect light, and we won't have a bright diamond. So everything ties together at the end of the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Such a hard work. Still, all
The
of
craftsmanship of this degree as a significant delicate process. And sometimes when the laser can cut, it actually damages the stone a bit, so it looks more brittle. So the soft touch for the soft pieces, so just safety always first. So how Maloko got into the diamond cutting industry is after high school, he went to the Oppenheimer Institution in Johannesburg, which is between a 6-month and a year course that you just do basic theory of all diamond cutting and the RBC, the round brilliant. After that, you have to come to a place like Szymanski who offers apprenticeships, and here you sit for 15 years until you are considered finished with your practical
15 years of
longer than some
apprenticeship.
doctors. Yeah.
Yeah.
So until it's considered perfect, because you only get one chance. We don't practice on glass here. Everything is the real thing.
Wow.
Yeah, and people also ask, what if they make a mistake? It's fine, it's human, we make mistakes. As soon as a mistake is made, the process is stopped. We put into our analyzing machine, which is what we call a scan of the diamond. We see, okay, he messed up there, let's reroute and make one like that so we won't have to waste any diamond, and everything can still be used and perfect. So nothing will ever go to waste here. We just stop, adjust, and we make a plan. Now, Maloko, as I mentioned, has 22 years experience in the industry, but he was taught by Julio, who's on his cell phone there at the back in the office. He has 40 years experience in the industry, and Julio is working with his son at the moment. His son's name is Shaka. Shaka is also one of our diamond cutters. He's one of the top 5 in the world. Now together they make like a father-son diamond cutting, I think is very, very special for things. They've been working forever, like since they won together. They've all accompanied Szymanski to the mines to tender there. And And how tendering was, you can't just go there and say, I want to tender, you have to get invited to go there. And as soon as you arrive, you are left in a small room, almost smaller than this one, for a minute. You can expect your stone, place a secret bet, and move on. And that's it. Other than that,
No, but the diamond cutters put the bed.
no, Mr. Shemansky.
Shemansky, yeah.
No, he
But he accompanies him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my local told me he came back from Kenya about 2 weeks ago. He had to inspect 120 stones and he was quite exhausted after a while. And he goes, that's what the process. They are done for 4 days and when they come back, they get a 2 days break and then they start again. Because it's very, very intense and very, very gruesome. So, but we love him and he's one of the best that we have. Very, very proud. Are you learning something?
Yeah,
Beautiful.
very
Good.
The RBC, of course, round base cut.
Round, brilliant cut.
Round
RBC.
brilliant RBC. And D is the best base color, right? No.
D is the best, yes, D is the best. I don't know why they threw out A, B, and C,
Yeah.
but it's always D.
D.
Yeah, it's D.
Okay.
I know you get diamonds like A1, A2, and
Yeah.
so, but I think that's completely out now.
Really?
I know they use the C version for brown diamonds, but other than that, I don't know what the A and B is for.
No.
So, Tanzanite, discovered in Tanzania at the foothills of Mount Kilimanjaro. There's only a 4 kilometer strip and that's it. So, Tanzanite is 1,000 times rarer than a diamond.
Really?
That's because there's only one mine in the entire world. Diamond mines all over, but Tanzanite, one mine, that's it. nothing
Kilimanjaro
else.
base,
That's it.
that's it.
That's it. So you can actually hold it up and pass around the rough stone.
It's
This is
not a
just over-
semi-precious then. Huh?
This
It's
is
not semi-precious.
Semi-precious.
No, it's not semi.
No.
It's precious.
It's precious.
So if you actually hold this rough and look up, you will see flashes of blue, violet, and a bit of pink as well. That's because it's also trichoric stone, which means you see different flashes of light.
Okay.
But as soon as they cut and polish this stone, we get blue dominant and violet dominant. So blue
Violet.
and violet. Yes. Blue, yeah, violet, yes. Now, the color itself has no effect on the price. If you like blue, you like blue. If you like violet, you like violet.
Wait.
It's the yes.
It's more expensive than diamond.
No.
No.
I'll get to that part, yeah. But when you cut and polish, you get blue and violet, but the color itself has no effect on the price. It's the intensity at which it's cut, because they cut Tanzanite for its color. So you get blue, violet, and we only carry the top 3 of each for investment purposes here at Shemansky. The rest just won't have any effect. And the smaller and smaller you cut Tanzanite, the lighter it will become. So we always suggest going 2 carats up for that beautiful intense blue. It is the new December birthstone, the new 24th anniversary stone. And even though it's 1,000 times rarer due to one mine, it is still a tenth of the price for a diamond. It's like a diamond is a carbon atom, Tanzanite is a zyosine. A diamond is a 10 on the Mohs scale of hardness, Tanzanite is a 6.5. So it's a little bit softer than your normal diamond. Yeah.
So, but why is this 120 diamond? It's more rare.
It is. It was discovered in 1967. It's not even 60 years old. It's just a very, very young stone. And we asked our gemologists, why is it a tenth of the price if it is so rare? Then you said it's all about the hardness. All about the hardness, yes. Which I get it, but like a
Really
10,
not.
yeah, it's like I'm sure it'll gain some traction eventually in the future. But they also did mention that it's going to be there 20 years left before the mine is done. So, I mean, let's hope not, but
Yeah,
that's what they
it's just
say.
become expensive once the mine is finished.
Exactly. Now the mines itself and the land it lies on is owned and operated by the Maasai tribe.
Maasai
the
tribe.
Maasai tribe. Yes, they have rights on all the Tanzania in the world. So that is why it is illegal to have this cut and polish outside of Tanzania, because that takes revenue away from the Maasai tribe, and we don't want that. Everything has to stay within the land. So when we buy our Tanzanite, we buy them in this form, loose stones, just like this. And after we buy our stones, we set them in the South African gold and South African diamonds to create the beautiful African piece. So if anybody tells you they're doing this out of Tanzania, they're lying to you or they're doing something illegal. And the reason why we have this one, before I get myself in trouble, is this big brown spot is an inclusion, so we can't cut this. This is just industry grade and nothing else. And also, Mr. Shemansky has been going to Tanzania for like 20 years now. Every single year he goes there, so he has a very good relationship with them. And they actually gave this to him to put into our museum, because they also know what we do here. Now we can tell everybody about their tribe as well, and then people go visit Tanzania. So, full circle moment. Now, I'm going to quickly go put away my rocks, and then we can try on anything.
Very pretty.
Like these ones. Smaller stones that compare those small stones to that one single big one. So it all depends on